Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. Today on New Year's Day, 2017, we are celebrating our 50th episode, and we want to thank you, our listeners, for supporting us and for taking this ride with us. We've got an amazing 2017 planned. We already have guests lined up through July of this year, some amazing guests from shows like Shark Tank and many other shows that you'll recognize, and some just great leaders from around the country. We've got a treat today. We are going to be doing a Shark Tank series. This is series 1 of 3, where we are talking to different guests from the hit TV show ABC's Shark Tank who have been through the tank, have great businesses or great entrepreneurs, and we've had the opportunity to interview them on our show. The first one we're going to interview is Matthew Alexander, who is partners with Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, with his product, the Illumiball. It's wildly successful. You can see it in stores nationwide. It's a bestseller on many sites. And so, Matthew, let's start with you, and let's talk about your experience on Shark Tank.
Yeah, so it's a very long application process. So there's just a lot of different forms you fill out, and they kind of filter it down through. But I mean, you get from what I can't talk about. There's certain things I can't talk about just because it's the magic of the show. But it's a cool experience. Like you go through a lot of paperwork and a lot of different interviews, and then eventually they fly you out. And it's pretty cool. They're all super supportive, honestly. Like what you don't see is you're actually in there a lot longer than on TV. Like on TV, it's 8-10 minutes, but the average time is usually closer to an hour.
Okay.
So they're digging in a lot deeper, but they're all very supportive, honestly. Like everyone on there, like they're not. I don't feel like any sharks are ever mean for the sake of being mean. They really are trying to help you succeed, whether or not they do a deal with you, which is one thing that's pretty cool about it. That they really do want you to succeed as a business.
Right.
And so it's your head's kind of spinning when you're in there because you see them on TV, and then you get out there and you're like, they're in front of you and it's real. So it's kind of a trippy experience in that sense. But honestly, the butterflies kind of go away because you've been preparing for it for months, like practicing your initial pitch and like just knowing your business front to back. So it's almost dreamlike though, because you get out there and you do it, and then you're done. You're like, did that just happen? Like, is that because you see it on TV so much, but then like you're there in front of them. So it's just a different level. But they're all really friendly, supportive people at the end of the day, like when we went out there.
So how long I've talked to a previous guest who actually did not get a deal and actually didn't have the best experience, and she knew well in advance that when it was going to air, so she was preparing investors that it was coming up. It was kind of a negative thing for her. But tell me how long was it until it actually aired once you shot the show? We
filmed in June last year, and it aired in March of this year.
Yeah, wow. So, how hard is it to be patient during that time?
It's pretty hard because you can't tell people about it.
Right.
So it's like you can't tell people when you're dealing with it because then you're busy still. You're dealing with the due diligence and after the show to get the investment to go through and dealing with all of that. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, thanks again to Matthew Alexander for being our guest. We want to keep in touch with him, see how he's doing, and continue to see how his new products develop. The next segment we're going to listen to is with an interview we do with Karen Posada. She's the founder and president of The Good Promise. You can see her product in stores nationwide, in several Walmarts and thegoodpromise.com. She didn't have the best experience on Shark Tank. She's got a great attitude and a great product and a great business, and bootstrapped her way to the success that she is today. But let's hear what things were like for her when she went in the tank. On Shark Tank, you handled yourself very well, even though you were taking a beating from them.
I cried. Literally, the producers were very kind. I was bawling. So they were very, very kind to like show me like in the lightest of ways. Because I was like, you're standing there, right? And here's like, you're in front of the sharks, which is so surreal, even being in TV and being in.
Yeah, and I wonder about that because you have it. I mean, you've got an impressive TV resume. You've been on camera for years and reported, and so that's.
Well, but even then, you're still standing. It's one thing to report as a job, to get a story and to tell the story of another human being and get on camera and tell somebody else's stories. It's a whole nother world when you've created a product, and now you have the weight of the world on your shoulders because you have your mom who you've dragged into this business. Now you have investors who are counting on you to make sure that it's successful, and now you have a brand new product that you're trying to introduce to the world. So you're so much more vulnerable.
Wow.
Than you've ever probably been, and you're at the mercy of these 4 people who are just people, but people listen to them like they're not just people, and all of a sudden they're looking at your product and they're saying it's the worst thing on earth that they've ever tasted, and you say, and like it just literally, I felt like my whole world just collapsed, and I thought, oh my God. I what am I going to do when this airs? I was like,
you're confident with your product because the response you got for years in Walmart and the consumers giving you good feedback.
Exactly.
And so then to go on there, I mean, you probably felt pretty confident that they were just going to give accolades, right? And
I didn't think they were going to invest any money, to be honest with you, because I'm like, it just very rarely that they invest in like in a food product per se. But I did think that they were at least going to like it and maybe give me a beating for my numbers or some of the decisions that I've made, but not because of the taste of the product, right? Or because of the look.
You do a lot to get on there. I mean, I've talked to others on the show and how lengthy process it is even just to even get on there is like winning the lottery. So costly because you have to like do your displays and you're flying out there and you're doing all these things and you got to stop everything else that you're doing to do this. Right.
And then you tell the world, which you're not supposed to, but you do because you're like, I'm going to be on Shark Tank.
Right.
Then your investors tell the world. And then all of a sudden there's so much pressure. And then you're standing there and they're telling you that this is the worst idea you've ever done. And you're thinking to yourself, I hope that Walmart's not watching this. I hope that Sam's Club is not watching this. I hope HEB is not watching. And oh my God, how do I make my investors not watch?
What kind of feedback did you get from your retailers or from your distributors or from your investors?
I mean, my investors did not, it was not good. It was not like that flavor as much anymore, like placebo effect, right? And I was like, oh my God, don't do that, please. So it was literally, I think when you leave the show, they have a shrink come up to ask you, like, they're like, so what are you going to do now? You're like, cry. You're like, they're like, do you have any friends, family? You're like, yes, I've got a child and husband and stuff. I'm not going to go, kill myself.
Right.
Hopefully I was praying that it wouldn't air. And then we filmed in July of last year. So I'd taken, and the show just aired in March. And I was hoping by the time, and like, so the year ended and I thought, great, it's not going to air.
Right. Our thanks again to Karen Posada for being our guest on the Business Leadership Series. We're going to continue to follow what she's doing as well. A very smart entrepreneur, and she continues to grow her product, continues to learn things about communicating with customers and anticipating their needs. That brings us to our final Shark Tank guest for today. That's John Radosta. He actually brought bubble soccer to the United States. That's what he was on Shark Tank promoting. He's also an inventor of the Aqua Arm and a very successful entrepreneur. I've had the privilege of seeing John do several things with social media and with SEO as well, and he's just really a rock star at what he does. So let's join in with John's interview where he talks about his experience on Shark Tank. Yeah, that's great. So that actually is a great segue for me to ask you about your experience on Shark Tank. Tell me a little bit about getting the call or having the opportunity to be on there, and then just kind of walk me through your experience.
So first of all, I mean, it's going into it and coming out of it, it's interesting because as an entrepreneur, you kind of, if you think of like a snake, kind of shedding its skin, like, or a caterpillar in the cocoon, like, growing its wings and stuff. I feel like you kind of go through one of those transformations. Like you go into the show, expecting, you don't know what to expect. You're just so excited about it. And, you spend over 7 months preparing for it. And it's incredibly, incredibly competitive. I think there were like 4 or 5 different casting calls all over the country for season 7.
Wow.
And everybody's just going into it. You're just so green around the ears as to how process works. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm dealing with, customers, sales, marketing, and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you have reality TV thrown into this, and production and Hollywood and all this stuff. And you know nothing about any of that. So it's interesting because, you kind of are a caterpillar going into it. And then afterwards you kind of understand a little bit about, all right, this is how TV works,
Sure.
So it was a huge learning experience. So going into it, it was a ton of competition. I think the casting call that I went to in particular in Miami, there must have been 3,000 or 4,000 people there in total. I got there late. Like I got there at like 9:30. There were people there at like 5:30 a.m.
Wow.
Like waiting, in line. Like I saw tents and chairs out there and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a madhouse.
Right.
This is insane. And you look around and you see people just, there's some really, you can see there's some really intelligent people there. There's people, dressed up. They're looking good. They're looking professional. And then you just have like some of these absolute wackos walking around the place. Like There were people with like mannequins with stuff sticking out of the head, and and you're just looking at a lot of these people. You're like, oh my God, what is this person going to pitch? I want to see what you're going to pitch with that.
Right.
And it's just so interesting because you get everything under the sun at these casting calls, and it's interesting because it's like the culmination of everybody chasing the American dream in one casting call. Everybody wants to become a multimillionaire, and they think that the fastest path to get there is by Shark Tank. Right. So of course you get all these people showing up. So it was interesting to get there, and I think they give everybody wristbands. I think I waited. I got there at like 9:30. I didn't actually end up pitching until 5:30 or 6 p.m.
Wow.
So I was down in Miami just working out of a Starbucks for like 8 or 9 hours just waiting to pitch. And then when you finally do pitch, you literally have like 5 minutes. Like they have to get through thousands of people.
Right.
And being at the end of the day, like I think that the cards were a little stacked against me because these poor producers, they're sitting there going, just listening. Just imagine like salesperson after salesperson coming up to you and trying to sell you their product. I can't even imagine the level of just, oh my God, if I have to see another salesperson, like, that product when you're in the mall and stuff. I mean, that times like 1,000 or 2,000, Yeah. So it's incredible. And, I got in front of them at, 5:30, 6 p.m. and I knew like, I'm like, oh my God, this person's going to be, they're probably hungry. They're probably going to be cranky. I don't know what to expect. So you know what, I'm just going to be as pleasant as I can and as quick as I can. So I went in there with an iPad, a lot of visual aids, and I actually brought, and I think I was, one of the things that kind of separated me from the other entrepreneurs there is I bet I was one of the only entrepreneurs that brought their financial statements, just a quick summary of the financial statements printed directly out of QuickBooks.
Wow.
So it was demonstrable. Like, I showed them a couple videos of Bubble Soccer. I explained who we are, what we do, how many affiliates we had, and then I showed, the financial statement showing how many sales and what our profit has been. So it was very, very quick. They asked me a couple questions and stuff. I answered them, and I before I started anything, I told them, look, I know you've been here all day. I'm not going to take a whole lot of your time. I can only imagine how annoyed you are right now. And he kind of laughed a little bit because he's like, oh, this guy gets it,
Right.
So I think that was kind of a little separator. And then when I finally got the call, it was just a very exciting process. Like, to move to the next stage, like there's various stages you have to go through. But to move to the next stage and you get that call, it was amazing because actually when you leave the casting call in Miami, one of the main producers there says, look, here's how it works. And he's talking to like hundreds of people, around him. Like, look, you probably won't get a call from us. I'm telling you that now, that if you're all going to be waiting to hear from them, there's a 95% chance that you will not get a call from us. So don't plan anything that you're going to get on Shark Tank. Just assume that you didn't get on the show here today. Like, this is exactly what they told everybody. And I kind of laughed because I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I'm not planning anything. It's going to be a crapshoot whether I get a call back. But I was lucky, and I got. They saw it as a very entertaining and interesting idea, They saw me as I think is, a sharp cookie, a sharp enough cookie. And, I got into the next stage. So it was very exciting.
So then you actually get on Shark Tank, and I've read some other interviews that you've done. So you prepared for how many months for this?
In total, it was about 7 months. So okay. I auditioned January 11th, I believe was the audition date, and I flew out to Los Angeles probably in July, or like the second week of July.
Just putting your background in perspective, you've got a very impressive sales background. You've set records for the previous companies you've been with, international records. So you're a polished salesperson that understands how to do a pitch, and you prepared for it. You had your financials ready, and so it's not like you went in there surprised. You watched all the previous seasons, I believe, too.
Yeah, so I watched throughout it. Like I made it an opportunity. Like every week from about January to July, you have a phone call with the producers, and they're essentially giving you homework assignments. And this is kind of a tip for other entrepreneurs out there, that if you do audition for the show, that I would see a lot of the stuff that I had to do from January to July. There was stuff like, getting compliance documents together, getting financials together, getting your pitch down, getting a video made, doing multiple takes, practicing in front of the mirror, sending that video to producers, stuff like that. Like there's all sorts of little tasks that you have to do in addition to running your business every day. And I think, and I could see like some of the stuff was like really like, oh my God, I have to get all these documents by next Monday. Like, some of the stuff was like, wow, I can see a lot of people that even if they get to this stage, I remember thinking this, I was in my kitchen one day, I was thinking this, like I can see a lot of people getting to this stage and then not getting all their stuff done. And then the producers just say, okay, they're done. They're out. Like the producers are looking for people that are not only do they think have the best chance of getting a deal from the Sharks, but they're also looking for people who can get stuff together very, very quickly, that they can get stuff done on a moment's notice. So that's, something to consider, that, if your listeners out there do audition for Shark Tank someday, that they need to be 100% committed, that, that takes priority over anything. If they tell you to jump, you say how high and how fast and what do you need me to jump by. Like you really have to be on top of the ball with it. But yeah, in terms of getting everything together, getting financial documents together, practicing your pitch, it's all part of the game.
So you did not get a deal on Shark Tank, but I watched the video this morning of the sharks bouncing around. It was cracking me up. It was great. It looks so fun. And give us a visual of the sport for a second, and then kind of tell us how you felt the experience went when you were in the tank.
Right. So it's the best way to explain it is it's full contact soccer within the protective constraints of an inflatable bubble. So, you're basically playing regular old soccer and you've got this 5-foot inflatable surrounding you that, people can hit you full speed and you're just going to go rolling. You don't feel a thing. And more than anything else, it's very, very hilarious to play. It's even more hilarious to watch. It really, has that wow factor for spectators.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And in terms of a team building activity, there's nothing else out there like it. You create such bonds. Like we've seen, companies like Google. We've seen Flatiron Health out in New York. We saw, all these major corporations, Texas Air Systems. We got a call from the San Antonio Spurs prior to going on Shark Tank. It just runs the gamut of everybody that wanted to try this, and just the fun that they get out of it. It really brings departments together. It really, you have salespeople making friends with engineers, two departments that really never meet for the most part in a lot of companies. And they're making friends and they're forming bonds across departments, and you really, it carries into the work week, the following week, on Monday, that you've got these, people that never talked before, and they're, talking about the crazy bubble soccer match that they had over the weekend with each other. So it's very, very interesting. Now, in terms of the tank, so I went into the tank expecting it to go either way. I knew that, the Sharks are very, very smart businessmen. I have the utmost respect for them. Every single one of them, the level that they've gotten to as business professionals, and also where they all came from. Most of them came really from nothing. Not nothing, but they didn't come from, wealthy backgrounds or anything. They started from the bottom, and they built their way up into not just, successful business people, but also celebrities, which is even another, level. So the utmost respect for them. So now when I went into the tank, I also know, I think that I know how the sharks think, that, they're at a point that they're in season 7 of Shark Tank. Many of the sharks are working with, upwards of 50 or maybe even 60 entrepreneurs now. Wow. Every season that goes by that they make investments, they're working with more entrepreneurs, and their time, the demands on their time are getting more and more. Right. So I think that now that the show has really taken off, I think that the sharks are really becoming more picky, and they can become more picky because, the quality of entrepreneur is really going up on the show. Like if you look at seasons 1 through 3 versus, seasons 4, 5, 6, 7, you'll see a marked difference in the quality of entrepreneurs coming on the show. It's, the entrepreneurs have more sales now. They're more savvy. There's more Harvard business graduates going on there. It's just the stakes are really getting higher, and therefore the investment criteria is getting higher, I think, as well. Right. So with the sport like bubble soccer, I think going on there, I was already at a little bit of a disadvantage, because if I'm a shark, like if I'm Damon or if I'm Lori, and I'm going to invest in a product, I want a product that I can pretty much plug into my distribution system, that, it basically fits into my distribution system. Lori has connections with Bed Bath & Beyond. Damon has, connections with, things like Target. Same thing with Mark Cuban. He has his own distribution system with Landmark Theaters and, Magnolia Pictures, all that stuff. So they're looking at their distribution systems, and they're kind of looking at products of like, how is this going to fit in my distribution system? And bubble soccer is really one of those that it's, if I was all the sharks, I've looked at it at their perspective, like, where is this going to fit into my portfolio? How can I plug this into my system somehow? And the answer was, and even for me would be, I have no idea. Right. So if they don't know in terms of, the strategy and how they can be of help, the obvious answer is don't invest in this. I'll just wait for something else to come along. So, even though the sales were there, even though the profitability is there, we have no debt on the books. I don't have a partner in this business. I'm the only one running it. Even though all those factors that, were, in my opinion, factors of success for other entrepreneurs, just the fact that, it didn't fit into their respective distribution systems, I think that was a huge disadvantage of me. And I knew that kind of going into it. I knew that it was really a 50-50 shot of me getting a deal. But, I went in there just basically, understanding that, look, they may or may not invest in this, so I need to present this in a way that it leaves an opportunity for someone else out there that sees this, and if the sharks don't bite on it, they don't bite on it, right. So I had to play both angles, because if this was an app, like if I was going in there with an iPhone app or an Android app or something like that, I would know that it plugs right into Mark Cuban's system perfectly. I know it plugs into Robert's system perfectly. They're both tech. Mm-hmm. And you could kind of, push all your chips in that scenario and just go for the deal at that point. But for my business, it was a very, very unique situation. I couldn't talk really about AquaArm. I was there to pitch bubble soccer. So I couldn't really pitch that that maybe would have been a better fit for Damon and Lori, but for bubble soccer, I had to go in there and I had to, really face the fact of like, look, this might not be a fit for any of them. So I'm going to present this in a way that, it presents an opportunity to someone else that might see it, and if they bite on it, great. I'd love to work with the sharks, but I need to play both angles.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because you were already you said that the Spurs and you had other interests before Shark Tank already.
Yeah. I mean, we got, before going on Shark Tank, I did a special piece for Telemundo. They did a story on us, ESPN and WPTV down here in Florida. They did a piece on us. We had like an indoor match at In-House Soccer in Boca. And ESPN came down and they did a story on the sport and everything. Good Morning America gave us a mention. And then once I got on Shark Tank, then Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine and all that stuff kind of followed. So Shark Tank has been such a great experience in the sense that, you know, it really has generated a lot of press and a lot of interest, not just in advanced sports technology, but also the sport of bubble soccer. You know, the biggest thing that bubble soccer needs right now is it needs the market to grow. Like advanced sports technology growing is great, and, you know, it helps me and it helps all the, you know, contractors and people working for advanced sports tech. But if the market doesn't grow faster or at the same clip as advanced sports tech, then there's really no more opportunity out there. So Shark Tank, bubble soccer getting on Shark Tank really kind of threw gasoline on the fire for bubble soccer, and now it's really gone international. We just launched our first affiliate in Peru. You know, we've got other interests. We've had interest from, you know, countries like Egypt and India. I got a call from someone in Thailand about doing a World Cup. It's really been incredible. So it's really thrown a lot of gasoline on the fire. So for that reason, I'm grateful.
That's a really exciting. I've got someone I know from season 1 who's still the episode I think reruns every 8 weeks, and they've been on the podcast before, and they say that they fail on national TV, which they didn't fail, but they didn't get the deal. They say every 8 weeks, and then the phone starts ringing again. So it's interesting how that works from season 1 till now. So they've had several years of Shark Tank being one of the main generating direct leads for their business, which is pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you can't look at it as you know, when I first, like, when I came off stage and stuff like that, like, you're a little bit numb at first. Like, you're kind of like, what the heck happened, you know? But I understand that you can kind of view it as a failure and stuff. But now in hindsight, I don't really view it as a failure because, I mean, like I said before, I mean, Forbes magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, you know, being mentioned in there, is that really a failure? You know, that's number one. Number two is, you know, made some sales from it, had some opportunities open up. And then on top of that, it's really set up an opportunity. I mean, it's really setting the stage for bigger things to happen. So I think it's, you know, you can't, if you're viewing it in a vacuum of like, did you fail on Shark Tank, yes or no? Then the answer is yes. Of course I failed on Shark Tank. But going forward, did advanced sports technology fail because of Shark Tank? No. I mean, Shark Tank set the stage for something even better to happen.
Yeah, and
that's really where we're going right now.
You were already climbing and growing.
Yeah. You have to look at the whole continuity. You know, you can't just look at it. You can't just look at it in a vacuum.
I was a musician for many years, where I really pushed it hard in the music industry in LA, and then things like American Idol came along, where people who had never sang before would go to the audition, and if they didn't make it, would say, well, I guess I'm not going to be a singer. You know, we had 10, 15 years that we'd already been paving the way, and it never dawned on us there'd be a reality show that might help propel that in the future someday. That wasn't even an option. So you were there before Shark Tank, and it was just a great propeller.
Exactly, and you actually made a really good point there, and something that, you know, is always in my head. And you know, even entrepreneurs that go on Shark Tank, both past, present, and future, you have to keep in mind is that, you know, American entrepreneurship has been around long before Shark Tank, right, and it'll be around long after Shark Tank. Shark Tank is such a small existence in terms of, you know, entrepreneurial history. I mean, entrepreneurship goes back thousands of years. Right. So you have to look at the whole grand scheme of entrepreneurship and what you're a part of being an entrepreneur. You're part of a legacy of human history of people trying to push human and mankind to the next level through inventions and ideas and betterment. You know, you're part of that as an entrepreneur, and you can't lose focus of that. You can't just look at Shark Tank and just say, I failed at Shark Tank, I'm a failure as an entrepreneur. It's, you know, look at Edison. Edison failed thousands of times,
right,
before he, you know, was successful. So you have to take it. You have to look at the bigger picture.
Thanks again to John Radosta. Thank you to Karen Posada. Thank you to Matthew Alexander for sharing your experiences. Our listeners, if you want to go back and look at some of our earlier episodes of the Business Leadership Series, you can actually hear our full interviews with them. They're fascinating. They're great stories. We just played a small segment of those today for you to listen to. And stay tuned in our upcoming weeks. We're going to have some more in the series of our Shark Tank interviews. We've interviewed so many Shark Tank guests, and they just provide such great insight in general on the process of building your business, learning from your customers, anticipating their needs, developing and revising your product, distribution, how to market, how to implement social media, and so many other great things. This is our 50th episode. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. We look forward to an amazing 2017 with you.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be.